Covering the Universal Orlando Resort for over 5 years, you are listening to the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 234 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando Podcast. My name's Hunter, and with me this week I have Lee.
Hey everyone!
Lee, it's just me and you this week.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. We haven't done one just me and you for a while.
It's nice though. A little bit of brotherly camaraderie.
Yeah.
Uncle and cousin type thing.
Bit of bromance going on from the old days.
That said, to spice things up a little bit, we do have a very special guest. You've heard him before, but we've got Mr. Seth sorry, I tripped up. Mr. Seth Kubersky.
We can do this all day.
I'm sure I can. I work with computers. Kaspersky is an antivirus.
Yeah.
I know.
Kaspersky.
I also get
Kaspersky.
Very good. Hi guys, it's so great to be back and talking with you again.
It's been a while. I'm trying to think when the last time we had you on, actually, Seth, was.
It was before my last book came out, I believe, so it feels like ages to me.
It has been a while. But obviously everyone hears you every other week at this point anyway.
Oh, if they don't fast forward through that part.
No, it's one of the best bits on the show.
Yeah, I really enjoy doing that. Thank you for letting me come on and do that.
No,
we love having you on.
It is. It's great because it's one of those things that, obviously me and Tracy don't get to visit that often, and Darren and Hunter aren't out there all the time, and someone like you who goes all the time will pick up on those little things, the little changes. I do have to say, though, holy crap, Butterbeer, when it first came out, was $2.99, and it's now $6.99.
Yeah, I did a blog for the Orlando Weekly, put in the pictures of the drink menus at Three Broomsticks side by side, and man, it makes the beer look like a bargain because beer has only gone up $1.50 in all that time. Yeah, I gotta say though, I'm still buying it. Yesterday it was about 50 degrees in the Wizarding World during the celebration of Harry Potter, and I had to break down and buy a hot butter beer.
I love that hot butter beer. Has that gone up as well then?
Everything now is $7. Before there were different price levels, and they've kind of the frozen butterbeer used to be the most expensive, and they've kind of inched up. Now they've just leveled them all out. $6.99 for everything.
So we talked about this a little bit on the last episode. Do you think they're outpricing themselves as far as people that aren't big fans of the drink already wanting to try it out, or do you think they're just going to continue to the increase?
I think that if you've already sunk the money into plane tickets and hotels and admission, and everyone back home has talked about butterbeer, an extra $1 or 50 cents is not going to stop you at this point. Judging by the lines that I see outside the carts, they're not having any trouble selling it.
Gotcha.
Especially this past weekend for the Harry Potter celebration.
I bet.
Makes me wonder if Disney's going to replicate it over with their Dole Whips in that case.
Well, putting it into perspective, the butterbeer at the studio tour in Leavesden is far more expensive, and it's disgusting.
They don't use the same recipe?
No, it's horrible.
Oh, that's a shame. Does it have the separate base and foam, or is it all in one?
I think it's all in one. It was nasty. I don't put it this way. When we went down, was it 2 years ago at this point? We got one each, and I don't think anybody finished it.
Oh, that's a shame. But at least the studio tour is getting the Forbidden Forest.
It is, and hopefully that's a precursor to it coming to Islands of Adventure at some point, replacing Dragon Challenge. But that's a topic for another time.
Oh, that's enough. Yeah, that's a much bigger story.
Oh, okay.
Well, we can actually talk about that this week if you guys want to.
I'm here for as long as your listeners are willing to put up with it. So we can talk about whatever you guys like.
Awesome. Well, as our listeners know from having you on these last couple times, you are a writer for Touring Plans, the Orlando Weekly, and the Unofficial Guide series. So
yes,
you know your stuff.
I try to. And speaking of which, the new 2017 edition of the Unofficial Guide to Universal Orlando is Now available in both paperback and Kindle. The Kindle one took a little while to come out, but you can get them both online and in fine bookstores wherever fine bookstores still exist.
So let me ask you about that real quick, because I read the previous guide. What was the biggest edition this year going in?
Obviously, Kong was a huge new addition. And we've got some pretty extensive previews of Jimmy Fallon and Supercharged, Fast and Furious. But a lot of it was food this past year. Had a lot of menu changes and new restaurants like Toothsome opening up. And then on top of that, every year, this is the second year of the guide, and we took a lot of reader feedback. We got a lot of people writing in about what they liked and didn't like about the first edition, and just going through every entry and making sure that we took that kind of feedback into account.
Because it must be a hell of a lot of work. We did a podcast at some point last year where we sort of had some feedback from some listeners who were wanting a sort of one-stop fits all for people who'd never been before. So we actually put together our complete guide to Universal Orlando, and it's not as extensive as the guidebooks are. We tried to basically give a sort of hour and 20-minute podcast to give people who'd never been before the sort of basics of being able to come into the resort and know how everything works, express and the guest assistance passes and all of that, just in an hour and 20 minutes. And just putting the show notes together for that took me a long time.
Oh, yeah. It's, I could not have done this single-handedly from scratch. Bob Sellinger and Len Testa, who started the Unofficial guide before me, did a lot of work creating the structure of our Unofficial guides. We've got Walt Disney World, we've got Disneyland, so we kind of know when people are going to a theme park resort what kind of information they're going to need. So a lot of putting the book together was taking the framework that we've established and proved works well for other theme parks, and replacing all the content within that framework to match Universal. So that helped a lot. If you tried to sit down from scratch and write down everything that everyone would need to know about going to Universal, your brain would explode.
I bet. And how much does Derek Bergen think he contributed this year?
Derek Bergen is very upset that he's not getting royalties. He did help out updating our food sections and contributed a great in the style of his Saturday Six list of the top 6 milkshakes at Universal Orlando.
Awesome.
Milkshakes, obviously, with Toothsome now being a big deal, but there's actually great milkshakes all over the resort.
Very cool. It's tough because obviously you've got a lot to look at. Kind of what we're going to discuss a little bit later as well is going to need to be sort of researched a lot with them. Have you added, actually I'm going to go off a little bit there, is there sections for Volcano Bay in it this year then, or have you held that off?
There is an entire chapter on Volcano Bay in which every bit of information that was available, plus a little bit of speculation, is sort of in there. Obviously, that's going to be a lot more fleshed out in the edition that I'm working on right now.
Yeah,
I am going to the media week for grand opening around May 25th, I'm a little horrified at the idea of a theme park full of journalists in bathing suits.
Well, congratulations!
I'm gonna get some scary pictures. I'm sorry.
The only thing worse is podcasters in bathing suits.
I could bring a cardboard cutout of you if you'd like. Take pictures of you in the lazy river.
No, I don't think anyone needs to see that.
Seth, you've met Lee. Even his cardboard cutout would burn in the sun, so that's a horrible idea.
Burst into flames.
I'm English. I like the grey clouds.
This is very true. The sun doesn't.
Vampire hissing.
Do me well.
So I got to ask you then, Seth, because you said you threw in a little bit of speculation. I'm curious because I saw a couple posts about the late nights that Volcano Bay is going to be open. Do you think these water attractions are going to be open so late at night?
I do. I mean, they published a preliminary operating calendar, and it looks like it's going to be open till 9 or 10 at night through the summer.
Okay.
And I think that the visual effects that they're building into the volcano are going to be a big selling point. They are really pushing hard. I happen to also be a travel agent, and I've recently taken the Universal Travel Agent training class for Volcano Bay. And one of the things that they emphasized was that this is not a half-day park that you should sell to someone as, get a 2-day or a 3-day ticket to the theme parks and you spend half a day at Volcano Bay. They're really pushing this is a full day experience. And they're going to have supposedly the dining to keep people there through the night. So I've got to imagine that, I hope the slides are all heated. We'll see what it's like in January. But during the summer, yeah, I'm assuming that you're going to be able to go down these water slides at 9 o'clock at night.
Which that leads into an interesting discussion because Universal is so heavily promoting this as, their third theme park. They're not really going to have a downtime like, say, Typhoon Lagoon or Blizzard Beach would in that case.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. They're going to have to figure out a refurbishment schedule that allows them to do it. I mean, it's possible that they could shut the whole thing down for, the month of January.
Yeah.
The Disney parks have been closed. Normally they have one or the other open this time of year. And there's been many days the last few weeks where it's been too cold and they've both been closed.
I mean, it's real virgin territory because nobody knows what a Universal water park looks like.
Yeah, I mean, people know what Wet and Wild looks like, but that was not really a Universal park. That was something that they purchased.
Yeah.
If you want a hint of what a Universal water park would look like, look at the concept art for the water park that was supposed to go into Disneyland Paris. Because I believe that Thierry Coupe was also on that team. And there was a similar volcano hot springs based idea with very heavy theming.
Well, Lee, we've talked about it before. Something that Universal, I think we've agreed on, does very, very well is kind of taking a sit back, seeing what works for their competitors like Disney, and then being able to implement that and amplify it from what else. Obviously, in the Orlando area, their biggest competition is going to be like the Typhoon Lagoons and the Blizzard Beach. So I'm hoping they just really get a home run with this guy and blow it out of the park.
And I'm not certain how many guests who are staying on Disney property buying just Disney tickets they expect to pull away just to go to a day at Volcano Bay. I think what they're counting on more is the iDrive people who would have gone to Wet and Wild, and more importantly, capturing on-site guests. Since now they have more and more hotel rooms, they want people to stay longer, buy longer tickets. I think if they can fill up that park with their on-site guests, that's a win for them.
But then you're going to get to see it from I-4 as well. So the people heading down to Disney are going to see that. Oh, what's that?
Oh, yeah. If you're driving into town and coming from 95 down I-4 West, your kids are going to be screaming and pointing, why aren't we stopping there?
Yeah, whereas if you look going down onto Disney property, if you're just driving around Disney World, you're not going to see those water parks.
No, Universal kind of put their weenies in full view, whereas Disney hides them.
Yeah. Well, like even the castle, I mean, you can't see that until you're actually inside the park unless you're on the monorail.
Yeah.
So yeah, very good point. But one of the coolest things I think that's coming to Volcano Bay is this Queueless, which we're also going to be seeing implemented at Fallon. Like you said, you've already had the chance to check it out. Was it at Shrek and Despicable Me? Is that correct?
It was originally at Shrek. They did that, I believe, late last year. That was kind of short-lived. And currently they're doing it at Despicable Me. I believe they're about a week into a 2-week test. And then we'll see what happens after that.
So how has this Queueless system worked out so far, and how do you see that being implemented into Volcano Bay?
Well, the Despicable Me system, I think, is most analogous to what we're going to see in Jimmy Fallon. We know that Jimmy Fallon's going to use a Queueless system. Right now, Despicable Me, it's kind of a moving target. It's changed on almost every day. The last time I was there, they had 3 queues open. 1 queue for standby guests, which was running at about an hour. 1 queue for express, which was the usual, 10 minutes or so. And then 1 queue for virtual queue. So short answer, lot like Fast Pass, either use a kiosk or your smartphone to get a time. You get your choice of return times depending on what's available, 1 hour time slots, just like Fast Pass. And when you come back using the virtual queue, you wait just about the same or a little bit longer than the express people. Express people can still use Express at any time. Express hasn't changed. The GAP passes, or the AAP passes, the assistance passes, that system hasn't changed. The standby line is still there. It's still always an hour or more. But what this lets you do is, instead of having to rush right to Despicable Me at the start of the day, in order to not have an hour wait, now you can schedule it for, in the middle of the day or later when other things have long lines. The system's worked really well for me the couple times I've used it so far. It's gone back and forth. Sometimes it's virtual queue only. Sometimes they have the standby line. It seems to be, like I said, a moving target. But it's kind of a dress rehearsal, I think, for what we're going to see at Jimmy Fallon.
So you said there they had it only open for the reservation thing. Does that mean the express people couldn't use it?
No, Express is always open.
Right.
Express hasn't changed at all. You can always use your Express. But there are times where they shut off the standby and you have to have a virtual queue.
And how did that affect everything then, Seth? Because for something like Despicable Me, you can go into that park at 9:10 in the morning and it'll be an hour wait.
Well, so here's the thing, and this is my personal theory, and we'll see if it's borne out. I think virtual queuing can work really well for a ride that is very popular but has a low capacity. Something like Despicable Me, you don't need very many people in that queue to have an hour wait. If you take all those people who are waiting in the queue for Despicable Me, and you distribute them
There we go.
among the park, instead of a ride like Despicable Me that's got barely, not even 1,000 people an hour capacity, and distribute them among rides like Revenge of the Mummy, Men in Black, Gringotts that have almost 2,000 people an hour capacity, then you're not going to significantly affect the wait times of those high capacity rides, and you're going to significantly reduce the average amount that people are waiting for Despicable Me by shifting attendance patterns around. However, if everything becomes a virtual queue, then where do people go when they're waiting for their virtual turn?
Yeah.
It only works in a park where there's enough high capacity rides and also, C tickets and D tickets and walkthroughs and shows to absorb the people who would have been waiting in the queues otherwise. That's why I think this will probably be successful at Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon, we're looking at a ride system that has 2 theaters, each of which can take 72 people at a time. So we're looking at more capacity than Despicable Me, but not as much capacity as Soarin'. So that's a good candidate for a virtual queuing style system. But if we look at something like Volcano Bay, water slides, by their nature, for safety reasons, are very low capacity. You can only send a couple people at a time, and you have to give enough room in between people. So if everything in the park is a low capacity ride, and they're all using the virtual queue, then where do people go when if they're not waiting in lines to ride a slide? I guess the answer is going to be the lazy river and the wave pool and the rapid river.
Or the restaurants, or the food
and hopefully
locations.
the restaurants and the bars.
Yeah.
But that's a big risk. That's a huge experiment, because as much as we all hate standing in line, operationally, a park depends on a certain number of people standing in line at any time to keep them out of the streets and keep them, out of the gift shops. Not to keep them out of the gift shops. You want people going to the gift shops, but I'm saying to keep crowds manageable, you need, if no one's waiting in any of the queues, then where's everyone else going to go? Theme parks aren't designed for that.
That's it. If you imagine something like Hogsmeade, where there is no standby line for Forbidden Journey or Dragon Challenge or Flight of the Hippogriff, and everyone's in that street or in the shops, it would be horrendous.
Exactly.
Now, Despicable Me has been pretty good for crowd management, just because that eats up people. I mean, you probably know more about the math side of it than I do, but Despicable Me always has a massive wait. Do you think this is something they're going to permanently implement? Excuse me.
I do think Despicable Me is obviously has a very high weight. The intellectual property is very popular, and I think that the ride itself gets satisfaction ratings. But I imagine they also get a certain amount of discontent from people who, that was their first experience because they see it as soon as they get in the park, and they get right in line for that, and they wait an hour and a half for what is really a last generation simulator. I'm sure Despicable Me and more so Transformers were kind of placed near the front of the park to deliberately serve as road bumps to slow people down on the way to Diagon Alley. And they almost succeeded too well. Rip Ride Rocket, to a certain extent, also serves that purpose, because crowds, now that Gringotts is running fairly reliably, crowds in Diagon Alley are very manageable. But Despicable Me becomes a huge speed bump, a huge roadblock for a lot of guests. And there's a very good reason why they built it with a double theater in Hollywood. To increase the capacity.
And I never noticed it because we moan and groan about Shrek, but overall Production Central is very front loaded for the park itself. I mean, you do have Rip Ride Rocket, you have Despicable Me, and those constantly are just eating people as far as stopping the traffic and from getting into the rest of the park. I mean, I don't think I've seen Men in Black over 25 minutes the last couple times I've gone.
Really?
Yeah, it definitely makes for a very lopsided crowd flow into the park. If you love Men in Black and you hit that in the first few hours that the park is open, you can ride over and over again with no wait.
Yeah, because nobody's made it back there. Yeah. I almost wonder if Islands of Adventure is having the opposite problem, where it's just very backloaded with Kong and the Wizarding World now.
Yeah, and it's especially left-loaded. Because you've got the Hulk will always draw people. As soon as you walk in the park and you see that coaster going over the bridge, that will always draw people in, and Spider-Man 2. And now that you have Kong over on the left side, it pulls people that way. But at the same time, Wizarding World, if people are set on that, they'll usually beeline to the right and cut through Seuss. So distribution is actually a little more even these days over there than it was. There was a time where it was seriously before Kong, and when Hulk was down, there was pretty much nothing to do except head straight back to the Wizarding World.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know when we came over in 2015, Tracy and I both have always said that Islands of Adventure is our favourite of the two parks, yet we spent the least amount of time we've ever spent in that. Well, I mean, we spent 8 days at Universal Orlando, and we spent very little time in Islands of Adventure.
So it makes me wonder if the solution for studios is putting, well, we know it's coming, we just don't know exactly where. If it is putting DreamWorks or Nintendo back where Kid Zone is and try to even it out and hope people head that direction.
That would be the obvious solution.
But looking at the future of this Queueless stuff, Seth, obviously we know it's being implemented at Volcano Bay, which, will be a lot easier than implementing it in the parks because they can build it into the infrastructure from the ground up. But bringing it into the parks, do you see them wanting to go down the route that Disney have with FastPass Plus and being able to not necessarily book stuff sort of 60 days out, but have the majority of the rides being able to book, say, day of on the app?
The majority, I really can't say. I kind of hope not. One of the things I like about Universal is the ease and simplicity of touring.
Yeah.
I hope that they go slow with this. I hope that they are very selective about which attractions they do it for. Like I said, it works great for things where the demand greatly exceeds the supply. For if you put on too many other attractions, then it will end up being self-defeating, in my opinion. I think a lot of, you get into a situation like at Disney where people are trying to snag fast passes for Journey into Imagination. Why? You don't want people's vacations to be ruled by checking their app and seeing what they can book. I think that Universal's trying to position themselves as kind of the anti-Disney. They certainly are with their recent marketing and social media. So I don't see them making this into a carbon copy of FastPass.
Because I know we had Jim Hill on a couple of weeks ago, and he pointed something out that made an awful lot of sense. That Universal are trying to capitalise on the people that are already coming into the area to visit Walt Disney World, and the experience that guests have at Walt Disney World with My Disney Experience and the Magic Bands and FastPass Plus is, he basically said that when those guests go over to Universal, they expect to have the same experience. They expect to be able to book those attractions and use the Magic Bands to pay for this, that, and the other. And because that isn't there, it may put people off.
Well, I will say I have seen people literally wearing their Magic Bands around Universal, and I don't know if they're just misinformed about,
I just
really
do it to be ironic.
But I appreciate Jim's point. I think that Universal does have places in their technology where they can reduce the friction. Touch points. I like Disney's touch point system so much better than Universal's turnstiles. The scanners, the finger scanners that Universal uses never seem to work well, and there's always a backup. Whereas I can't remember the last time I had a serious backup at the touch points at Disney. So I would love for Universal to go around and see those things that do genuinely make the experience easier and adopt those. But at the same time, in my book, one of the things I write about that sets a Universal Vacation apart right now is the ease, the simplicity of not having to deal with booking all these fast passes and making a schedule and knowing what your times are. I know some people have worried that Express, especially the free Hotel Express, would go away. If they start switching to virtual queues. I will say it seems that that's not going to happen. I believe there's going to be some sort of express system available at Volcano Bay. And Volcano Bay is also going to have early entry, by the way, for hotel guests too. So, I'd rather them focus on that. I'd rather them focus on building value into their on-site hotels through things like that. Certainly it would be great if Universal had a single ticket. If you're staying at an on-site hotel, you have your hotel room key card, you have your admission ticket, and you have your express pass. And I would love if they could just combine that into one that was tappable. That would be brilliant.
Do you think potentially they'll just go down the route of it being part of the app then? Because they've, with the tests they've already done of being able to book it on the app itself, they're kind of expecting everyone to have their cell phones with them. And everyone can use, an Android phone, or you've got Apple Pay, you can use the NFC to tap and pay for stuff. Why not just put it all into that?
Yeah, and Universal has had NFC-enabled terminals at most of their food and merchandise locations. they've had them since September, I believe,
Right.
and they're still not enabled as far as I know.
Okay.
I've tried using them every time. They say, nope, they don't work yet. The problem with building everything into an app is that then you have to provide ways of charging it, because phones only last so long, and they're not 100% dependable the way an RFID card is. I think for hotel guests, resort guests especially, that I'd like to see them go to a card-based system. But yeah, you're right. In the app now, you can buy your ticket and have it scanned at the gate right on your phone. And there will be more and more features integrated into the app, I'm sure. But they've got these new charging stations for phones. They're testing around the studios.
Yes, on Islands of Adventure.
Yeah, and every time I've tried to use them, they've been completely full.
Well, there's only 6 banks per station, isn't there?
Yeah, and I don't believe there's a charge for that. I don't believe you have to pay for them. So people just stick them in there and leave them however long.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that system works. But yeah, I personally carry around a backup battery everywhere, and I wind up leaning to the side because it's so heavy.
I know you kind of mentioned it already there, Seth, but one of the things I wanted to sort of pick your brains about is, whatever this Queueless system's going to end up being, it is going to be in Fallon. It's probably going to end up at Despicable Me. It's probably going to end up at Shrek. How do you see that affecting Express? Not just like the Hotel Express, but the paid for Express as well.
Well, like I said, at least how they've been testing it so far at Despicable Me, it hasn't really affected Express at all. I've used Express while the virtual queue was going on, and I waited, 5 minutes, less than 10 minutes, which wasn't bad considering that the standby line at that time was, I believe, 60 minutes.
Wow.
So Express is still able to join the line. There have been times where they've sent virtual people and Express people through the same queue. But yesterday when I was there, they had separate queues for standby, Express, and virtual queuing. And the Express people were given first priority. Virtual queuing was given second priority.
Do you expect? It was more thinking about Express as a concept. Is it going to stick around as it is, or do you see it sort of changing with the advent of this virtual queuing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the advantage to Express will always be on demand.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for a time and come back later. And I'm sure there will always be someone who is willing to pay extra, whether through an add-on ticket or through an expensive hotel room. Someone will always be willing to pay extra for not having to schedule their day, not being told, you can come back in 4 hours. It's the ability to just use the Express at any time, I think will continue to give it value. Now, operationally, whether they can smoothly manage the merger of standby and virtual and Express, that remains to be seen. That's going to be a work in progress.
Because they've had is it the Qbot that's been there for years, and yet no one really talks about it. I don't think I've ever seen anybody use it.
Yeah, it still exists. Some days they don't sell it at one park or the other park. They never advertise it, and that actually works very, very much like the virtual queuing system, except the Qbot, your return time would always be whatever the current wait time was.
Right.
For standby, whereas this is you are selecting a time slot, which is actually kind of nice because, if you want, in terms of touring plan optimization, if you want to say move Despicable Me into the mid-afternoon because you're going to be in that side of the park to do Shrek and horror makeup show around that time, then that can add extra efficiency as opposed to being dictated when you have to come back to do it.
Yeah.
Now, Qbot, I can definitely see Qbot vanishing. I'm not sure a lot of people in management know it even still
Well,
exists.
I mean, I remember when they first brought it in, and I think it was a listener tweeted us about it, and I was like, oh, I'll have a look at this. And I actually rang Universal Guest Services, and they had no idea what I was talking about.
No idea.
Not a clue.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
It was just bizarre. It's like, hang on, how do I know this is there, yet you don't? And I'm like 4,500 miles away. There was one thing, actually, I wanted to bring up, Seth, and I'm sure Darren would have brought it up if he was here. Can you ever see anything like this Queueless thing being implemented at Halloween Horror Nights?
Again, I would love that. I would love to see something like that happen, but the problem is Halloween Horror Nights, if people weren't standing in those massive queues, the streets are packed enough as is. Where would the characters go?
Yeah.
If all those people who are supposed to be standing in a massive queue are wandering around instead.
It's just that thing is when you look at the standby lines for those houses, I think last year was worse even than the year before. That from a guest point of view, that if you're not prepared to fork out for Express Pass, you'd be lucky if you get through 3 or 4 houses a night, and it's not a cheap night out.
No. I mean, the only way to do it without Express really is to be in the park, before it closes for the day and reopens.
Yeah.
And so that's already expensive. You got to have an annual pass or already be there for a day pass for that. And kind of bulldoze your way through as many park houses as you can in the first hour, and then just sort of camp out until the last hour of the night, and then try to step in the line for the most popular house just as the park closes.
Yeah.
And that's exhausting. And even then, you might not see everything.
I mean, to put it into perspective, when we came out in 2015, we actually did a private RIP tour, and we still
it's really the only way to go.
It is, but then we still only got through every house twice.
Yeah. It's I'm impressed you got through every house twice. Wow,
Yeah.
I've done RIP tours where we didn't get through every house once, just
Really?
because it was so packed trying to move through the crowds.
I think that night we did all the houses twice. I think Darren and Nina and Andy actually did another 2 after we left. We had a meal in Springfield. We went down into the VIP lounge in Men in Black. We rode Rip Ride Rocket.
You got your money's worth on that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, we knew that. The beauty of that was we actually knew our tour guide as well, which helped.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was like a group of 11 rather than a group of 10 and a tour guide. But yeah, it's just, I know there's been a lot of talk with Horror Nights about them switching it over 2 parks to try and alleviate the crowds that way. But I mean, the first year we did it was 2004 when it was in both parks, and at that point I had no point of reference, and it did seem to spread things out. But then I also don't think it was as busy back then as it is now.
No, I mean, you can't. The scale of attendance has increased. It's a victim of its own success.
Yeah.
It's too popular, and you get to a point where either you say we're going to limit ticket sales to preserve the quality of it, or we've got to greatly expand the amount of space. There are nights where it's really uncomfortable to be in there because there's just physically so many people. And in terms of the wait times, it's brutal when you see people waiting 2, 3, sometimes more hours for shuffling through a haunted house, especially while as much I love the work that Mike Aiello and the Halloween Horror Nights team do. But there are other great haunted houses in the Central Florida area that don't involve quite so much waiting in line.
Yeah.
So, in terms of a value proposition, I get in for free with my annual pass. I get in for free once a year, and I also get in free once a year with the media. And some years I pay for a return ticket out of my own pocket, but it gets hard to justify the value when you're waiting such a long period of time for such a short experience.
I think that's why last year specifically, they've brought these tickets out that are the every, you know, the 1%ers ticket, the every night plus express, because they realise that if you want to go and experience it, you can't do it in 1 or 2 nights. You've got to go. I think every night's maybe a bit overkill, but if I lived out there, I would be. It'd be awesome. But yeah, I think they've realised that people want longer ticket options rather than like a 1-night ticket.
Yeah, and in some ways, I apologize, I'm blanking right now on the frequent fear. Yes, the frequent fear ticket. So I think the low end, the cheapest frequent fear ticket sort of became the equivalent of the Southern California resident ticket out at Disneyland, where it took what was the slowest nights and made them so appealing to locals to come back to over and over again that they turned them into some of the most busy nights. Sort of, law of unintended consequences. So then it becomes a vicious cycle. Then when those people who want to come over and over but don't want to wait, then you're selling them more and more, which in turn makes those other nights busier and busier. So I don't know how you break the cycle. I don't know if the answer is getting rid of the frequent fear or getting rid of the low end frequent fear to make the crowds better for the people who are just buying a 1-night ticket. I don't know how you do that.
I mean, we're quite lucky over here that the tickets we get in the UK are a lot better than the ones out in the US. I know there was quite a few of our friends out there that were very, very jealous at the price that we paid for our Halloween Horror Nights tickets.
Don't just wait. When Donald Trump finds out about that, he'll slap a 50% tax and stop you at the border.
Well, we worked out with the tickets that we bought, we were only actually out for a week, but if we bought a 2-week ticket, it was a 2-week bonus ticket that was 2 weeks at Universal plus any Halloween Horror Nights that fell in that 2-week period, excluding Fridays and Saturdays. If we'd have been out there for a 2-week period, we could have gone 6 times on those tickets, making each night would have cost us $17.80.
I hate you.
Yeah. I wonder if you could buy them over here. Get someone in the UK to buy your tickets over here and ship them over there.
I don't know. Would I have to speak with an accent when I went to the turnstile?
No.
Incognito.
Just it's weird, and I think it's going to be. It's actually not wanting to get into political terms, but I think it could be quite interesting to see how tourism over into Orlando goes this year.
If I were the folks who had invested in Emirates Airlines, big new planes doing daily service to Dubai, I would be concerned because a lot of their connecting flights are no longer people who are no longer allowed into this country. I think that this could have a big shock on tourism, depending on where it goes and how long it goes on.
That got dark very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about theme parks. It's much happier. But what do you know specifically about the Tapu Tapu then, Seth? Let's wrap up with that.
Specifically, I think it's going to be similar to a system that they demonstrated at Wet n Wild. It's a waterproof wristband with near and long range RFID. And I don't know if it's got any display technology built into it.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, like how it alerts you when your time's due.
Yeah, I believe it will have some sort of alarm function that's either a buzzer or a vibration. But I don't know if it's going to have an OLED screen built into it that's going to remind you which slide. Like, I don't know. If I tap it on some slide and then I go sack out in a chair on the beach, by the time I wake up, I'm not going to have any idea which slide it was that I had reserved before.
Or if you've had a few drinks.
I guess it will integrate with your smartphone maybe, but then it's the whole issue of, do you really want your smartphone in a water park? No. So yeah, the details of that, I wish I could share more. I would love to.
I think it's quite surprising that we're not that far out yet. The details of everything is still fairly scarce.
Yeah, well, I mean, the details of exactly how Magic Bands worked. They didn't really have those until they'd already been rolled out. So
for a year, and they still didn't know. Because I know they've sort of mentioned it's going to interact with the tunnels in the lazy river and stuff. That's cool.
Yes, there should be kind of in the same way that Disney's got interaction with the magic bands where they stick your name up on something. I don't know if it's going to be personalized, but I think it's going to be more like using it sort of like that you use the medallion in that Pirates of the Caribbean interactive game that they have in Adventureland.
Because the thing that kind of got me with it, I think they showed in the concept art with like someone going through the lazy river and it lighting up like stars in the sky. And then if there's like 40 people all going through the lazy river, how do you know which one activated it?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll. I mean, that's the question. The same question I have about Avatar Land.
Yeah.
That if all these plants are interactive, and you have all these kids grabbing at them constantly, and how do you know it's really interactive or if it's just going haywire?
Yeah, you don't know. It could be on a timer, and it just happens to go off when you go through. Oh, that's cool. I activated that. And it's like, no, you didn't really. Do you think they'll ever bring anything like that into the parks then as well, then, Seth?
Well, I mean, they already have with the wands.
True.
That's kind of what the wands are. And I'm sure that when Nintendo Land comes around, they're building interactivity, whether that's smartphone based or some other device. But I'm sure that's going to be built into Nintendo Land from the ground up.
Because I'm wondering if the Tapu Tapu if you'll be able to wear them in the parks as well, whether it'll have any sort of functionality outside of Volcano Bay.
As far as I know, right now they're strictly limited to Volcano Bay.
But then I suppose the idea in the future is that they could do.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose in theory, they could go there. That might be something more for a third gate, or I'm sorry, fourth gate, because this is the water theme park. Just like the Wizarding World was a theme park within a theme park.
Hunter, are you a water park person?
I enjoy them enough. I mean, it's not something that I go out of my way to check out or anything like that, but I've been known to enjoy a Typhoon Lagoon every now and then.
So has Volcano Bay, has it excited you when you've seen it, or are you just like, I might check it out?
Volcano Bay, I mean, I kind of have to check it out, and then in the case of the podcast.
Of course.
But aside from that, even just coming from the perspective of a theme park fan, the thing that has me interested is Universal isn't saying, hey, this is our water park. They're saying very explicitly, hey, this is our third theme park. Yeah. And that's what's got me interested. I am a theme park fan, first and foremost.
Seth, what's your take on that, the water theme park tag?
Like I said, Universal's famous for coming up with marketing terms that are kind of dubious, and I get what they're trying to say. They're really going to have to show how this is qualitatively different than like Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach, because I would say that by the same standard, those were also water theme parks. They had themes, they had backstories. To me, I think a theme park has different themes. It seems to me that they have said that there's different lands within the park, but they're all based around the same singular theme. Where what makes the Magic Kingdom a theme park is the Adventureland and Tomorrowland, and so I don't know. Can you have a single theme park? I guess.
Gatorland.
But Gatorland. Gatorland is Orlando's best half-day park.
It's true. Have you seen their Queueless ride system?
I don't want to quibble over the water theme park thing. I'm just going to go and enjoy it on its own merits. But like I said, it's kind of like when they advertised the first Wizarding World as a theme park within a theme park, and it's like, is the point that you're trying to get across worth the confusion within consumers that you're going to create?
People are going to call it Harry Potter World anyways.
Right, and they're going to say it's a Disney.
It's a Disney.
Yeah. I suppose, like, technically it is a water theme park. It just soars,
Sure.
like you say, soars Typhoon Lagoon, soars Blizzard Beach. Just because they don't specifically state that it is, Universal are just using that as...
To be fair, in certain markets, Disney advertises their resort as having 6 theme parks.
Yeah.
You know, so...
Including Disney Quest.
Well, not anymore. They just
Not anymore.
Bye-bye Disney Quest. Finally.
Hello,
Only
NBA City Theme Park.
2 years from announcing NBA City to actually closing Disney Quest. 2 years.
That's still such a weird property for them to put in there.
Is it actually happening?
It's actually,
Yes,
as of
yes.
an hour ago, they announced it.
Oh, really? Right. Because I'd heard about it. I know
Down-
Jim told us about it ages ago.
Yeah.
Such a strange one, you know, especially when you look at NBA City Universal, there's a reason it went. I know it's not strictly going to be the same thing, but I don't know. Being British basketball isn't a huge thing over here, I suppose, so...
Because none of you were tall enough.
Well, that's not true. Have you seen Craig Lucas?
That's right. Well, Craig can't play by himself.
That's not true either.
Well, anyways, I think we've got a whole show of material here. Was there...
I think you got a show and a half.
I think we do. But real quick, Seth, before we wrap up the conversation, tell us where we can find you, like the stuff you're working on, the new stuff you've published, all that fun stuff.
I'm all over. You know, if you go into Amazon and type in my name, my latest books will come out. Unofficial Guide to Universal Orlando 2017, of course, is the one that all your readers need to buy 3 copies of. And you can also find me. You can find more about the books through theunofficialguides.com and also touringplans.com. I write for orlandoweekly.com and also attractionsmagazine.com.
Oh.
And you can find me on Twitter at SKUBERSKY.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well,
Yes, it's going to be interesting to see how all this pans out in the future. You know, I remember when we started this podcast, nearly 6 years ago, we were only going to do a podcast once a month because it's like there's not that much to talk about really, and now it's like there's so much going on and so much in the future. It's
75 episodes later, almost
crazy.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time. There's some innovative stuff coming along. I'm excited to see.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us this week.
Pleasure as always.
Got to have you back on sometime
Seth.
soon. I'm sure there'll be.
Yeah, I actually said to Jim when we had him on, I think it's about time we got you two back together because we haven't done that for a while.
Yes, that would be great. I love playing straight man to Jim.
I feel a Volcano Bay episode coming on.
Well, that's the thing.
Now, if I get to go to Volcano Bay with Jim, I want to go on a water slide with him because that could be epic.
Well, you see, this screw is actually a carryover from when Universal Orlando first opened.
You have to be careful not to cause too much controversy by dropping something that makes J.K. Rowling come out and make a statement.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys got all over the media.
Yeah, just a little bit. That was a crazy weekend.
I hope you got plenty of streams and hits off of that one.
No.
No.
Nothing at all, actually.
It's terrible
I
because
know,
no one
it was
links back
weird.
to you.
Yeah. Oh no, there was plenty of articles that were linked back. I don't want to listen to them.
I think it means like a direct link.
People just read the headlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't actually read the article.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up episode, what was it, 237? Is that right? 234 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
That's it for another Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on iTunes, and while you're there, please leave us a rating and a review. Listen to us on Stitcher, Google Play, and all your podcast apps. Email us with any questions or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com, or even better, record your message at speakpipe.com/uuopodcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest, keyword UUO Podcast. Check out our blog for even more content at uuopodcast.com. Well, that's a wrap. See you next week.